So, this is a reply to That Guy T's reply, to Harmful Opinions' reply, to a Kickstarter. That's almost some Inception level shit right there. I've linked them both in the description, and I advise that you watch at least T's response before this one, or a few things might go over your head. And if you've got the time, obviously watch Harmful's original video as well. Anyway, this video, as I've mentioned already, is a direct response to That Guy T. And mate, I think you've made yourself look like a bit of a mug. For a start, you say that the Tuttle Twins initiative isn't indoctrination. However, as you mention, it teaches them values. Education should not, and is not designed to, teach children values of any kind. It exists solely to equip them with practical skills and knowledge. This initiative openly pushes a political bias, and this, at least in the UK, is deeply frowned upon, with teachers being able to lose their jobs if they're found to have politically influenced their students. This changes as you go further up the educational ladder, but this is only because it is assumed that by this point the student is at a developmental stage, where they are capable of effectively criticising the ideas put before them, and thus are no longer considered a vulnerable group. You also seem to be under the impression that school is this massive factory churning out obedient little citizens without their critical faculties still intact. Now, whilst I can't speak for those who have gone through the US education system, I have spoken to, and in fact am lucky enough to be dating, my own little Southern Belle, and from what she's told me, what you are saying holds true for the American school system. But again, here in the UK, things are slightly different. Kids are allowed to be a little more subversive, and you'll often hear behavioural horror stories where kids have flown off the rails and thrown crazy fits at their teachers with what I've been led to believe in the US would be considered incredibly light punishment. So perhaps you should relent on branding all centralised education as an attempt to standardise minds and keep this criticism to where it is relevant. And to keep your criticism to where it is relevant. In this case, the United States. Also, surprisingly, you communicate a rather poor understanding of the hierarchy of education and the reason for its structuring in such a fashion. You assert rather foolishly that during primary and secondary education, that children should be taught to immediately criticise the concepts they are being taught. Now, whilst on the surface this seems like a sound position, you have misunderstood the purpose of foundation-level education. It is to equip the student with basic knowledge and understanding of subjects and the core thesis from which these subjects operate. Without this knowledge, the student has no hope of progressing further in the field, as they do not understand the basics. This is why early in education, yes, it is about memorizing basic information on a mass of subjects, not only so a student can find a field of interest, but so that they can understand the ways in which each subject is linked. As far as academic discussion is concerned, this is reserved for those who have progressed and matured mentally to the point where they are capable of more deeply interrogating their chosen subject. For an extreme example, you wouldn't ask a baby to debate astrophysics with you. You in your video also rail against the idea of a varied education. This once again blatantly exposes your lack of understanding on the subject of teaching. We provide children with a wide variance of classes not because it is necessarily the easiest option, and that the child is expected to achieve equal proficiency in every subject, but so that they may more deeply develop the discipline and wider understanding of their fields required for a well-rounded understanding. For example, in a job you might be asked to complete a task for which you have very little passion or interest. This, however, does not mean that you get to cop out of it. And you also know that by learning how to assist Bob in maintenance in fixing the air conditioning, that you won't need to call him up to your floor in IT to get him to fix it. It's a mutually beneficial arrangement. The same goes in the academic sphere. My chosen subject is history, and in the UK you don't have a major-minor system. You stick strictly to your chosen subject. However, you are still expected to attend and complete a certain number of modules, some of which you will inevitably find boring. However, you attend in the knowledge that you will be providing yourself with extra perspectives and information which will overall increase your academic proficiency. This is a sentiment echoed throughout the educational hierarchy and is essential to the development of a well-rounded and effective academic in both primary school and university. For instance, you give the example of finance. Well, for a student to be good at finance, they must have a basic understanding of mathematics, business, and economics, with each of these subjects having their own root subjects, without which the student would not reach their full potential. And frankly, T, as much as I do sympathise with your academic struggles that are documented in your video, link in the description, as I, myself, also struggled in school, it seems to me that you are projecting your lack of intellectual discipline and failure to correct your own behaviour, and thus achieve more in school, on the ever-nebulous system. School is hard, and often not fun. However, it is essential to developing an intelligent and productive person. Just because you were, like most young people, intellectually lazy and did not necessarily become academically minded, does not devalue the institution or its outcomes. And, unfortunately, your academic failings are yours alone. You can hopefully learn from them and further develop yourself. However, don't go blaming the system for your issues. So, just to clear a few things up, I'm aware that I could have come off as quite harsh in this video, but I'd like it on the record that this isn't personal. I just strongly disagree with T on this issue, and think he is speaking from an uninformed and overgeneralized position. I hope you all have a great day, and feel free to check out my blog. An annotation is in the end card, alongside a link to an article on one of the greatest British hero adventurers, one Horatio Nelson. You can also follow me on Twitter at HLCasanova. Have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you out there in the comments section, where I doubt that anything productive will be going on, but as always, the Keck will be bountiful. Have a good day, guys. Bye-bye.
What is this cuckery? I mean, what the fuck is this?